If you've ever seen any of these really weird memes that look like they were either made by an 8-year-old who doesn't understand how memes work, or were designed to be so ironic they don't make any sense in the first place, it turns out that these come from the official website of an animated TV show called Motu Patlu. It's actually one of the most popular kids shows in India, having 262 episodes, 10 made-for-TV movies, and 1 theatrical movie, which means that these memes were made by adults who don't understand how memes work. I figured there were more of the memes than I'd seen in circulation, so the other day I decided to actually go to the Motu Patlu website to download the rest of them. While looking, I made a lot of really interesting discoveries. First off, the Nick India website is about 5 years design-wise behind the North American one. And secondly, apparently Motu Patlu is so popular in India that it gets its own button on the Nick India homepage. For comparison's sake, even SpongeBob doesn't get a button like that on the North American website. It's still hidden under the Shows tab. Now, in a very bold move for their most popular IP, Nick India decided to make the design of their Motu Patlu site 5 years behind their already outdated homepage. There's actually something really broken in the code for this site, because if you click on one of the tabs on the left, the screen will always gyrate up and down when it gets to the area you clicked on, and the only way to fix it is to go back to the top and scroll down manually. While the Videos tab is broken, thankfully the Meme tab works fine, and I was able to download all 20 of the memes they have on the site. But when I was done, my eye caught something even more interesting. There was a Games tab. Today, I'll be taking a look at least all 16 games on the first page here. Let's jump right into it. Looks like our first thing on the list is King of Kings Game 3. Not entirely sure what happened to 1 and 2, but let's jump right into it. This goes for every single game on this list, but when you click on it, it actually takes you to a different subsection of the Nick India site that houses all the games, so that's kinda more clunky web design. But the next thing you'll notice is that this is taking forever to load. Every game I try in this video has this problem to some degree, but this one is by far the worst offender, and you could probably go watch a YouTube video, finish it, and then check back on the tab and it still won't be done loading. The first thing you notice when the game actually loads is that not only was this made in Unity, it was made in Unity Personal Edition, so whoever Nick India hired to make this game for them, they apparently weren't even experienced enough to have enough money to buy the advanced version of the software. The next thing you'll notice is that this title screen is indeed in 3D, as advertised, although 3D apparently means Final Fantasy VIII character models. The sound toggle isn't doing anything, so there must just not be any music on the title screen, so without further ado, let's select our hero and jump right into the game. Now, since I don't even know what kind of game this is, of course I'm gonna click Show Tutorial. Okay, there's the music. Oh, wait, I'm dead already? Oh my god! That hunter guy is slashing his throat at me! They do know this is a game for kids, right? Okay, so after you jump over the obstacle the game tries to kill you with before giving you a tutorial, it turns out this is just a crappy Temple Run clone with a Motu Patlu skin. You can jump over and duck under obstacles, but there are only 3 lanes, and you can't move 2 to the left or 2 to the right just by holding down the left or right arrow key, so it's actually really clunky to control despite the really simple layout. You're also apparently supposed to attack these hunter guys that show up in the middle of the stage and get in your way, but the tutorial only says attack with the good luck! And I have tried pretty much every key and mouse button I could think of, so I'm pretty sure the attacking thing isn't even in the game at all to begin with. Anyway, after a couple more runs where I died and got threatened with decapitation, I decided to give up and move on, so let's go on to game number 2, which, coincidentally enough, is King of Kings Game 2. The prequel also claims to be in 3D, so let's see what this one's about. It has the same banger of a background track from last time, and oh my god! Okay, I know Motu looks like Mario, I know he and Patlu are brothers and have the whole short fat guy tall skinny guy dynamic going, but this is literally Super Motu Brothers, but it's also like a Scratch game in terms of quality. None of the controls feel correct, none of the animations look like they were animated properly, there are 0 sound effects at all, and this still image of the hunter guy from the last game that looked like he was part of the background is actually apparently an enemy and killed me instantly. Also, clicking the play again button first seems to take you back to the title screen, but then refreshes the entire game player for some reason, so you have to start over from the beginning of the beginning. Quite a few of the games are actually broken in this same way. So if it happens again, I'm just going to immediately pass to the next game in order to save time. Next up is Game 3, Snowboard Challenge. Judging by its very poorly sprite layered tutorial, it looks like this is just a simple snowboarding tricks game where you go off jumps and press different keys to do tricks. What the game doesn't tell you, though, is that your moving left and right is actually controlled by your mouse cursor, and since I clicked start, which isn't on the center of the screen, I immediately slid to the right and hit an obstacle. Motu won't even follow your cursor exactly, so I managed to burn through all 5 of my lives before even seeing a single ramp. And the game over screen is Motu completely bandaged in a hospital with 2 limbs in a sling and looks like he can't even move. More great messages for the children here. When I played a second time to try to get footage of what doing a trick actually looks like, I realized that the Nickelodeon and Motu Patlu logos aren't even on the right layer, they're behind the trees instead of above them like the life and score counters. But anyway, on my last life of the second playthrough, I did finally land one single trick, and then put Motu in the hospital again, so we're moving on. Game 4 is Paint Fun, a generic coloring game that lets you do this monstrosity for some reason. Game 5 is the beginning of the series that games 1 and 2 are from, Motu Patlu King of Kings. The loading screen for this one says in cinemas 14th October official game, so I did a little digging Wikipedia and found out that King of Kings is actually the theatrical movie I mentioned earlier. It was released on October 14th, 2016 in 3D in a bunch of theaters in India. The bottom of the Wikipedia page even had a list of links that you could check out if you wanted to learn more about where the movie came from, like the Indian animation industry, a list of Indian animated feature films, and Neon Genesis Evangelion? If this is trying to tell me that something traumatic happened to Motu and Patlu's parents in their past, then I might want to start watching this show. This shit's got lore! Anyway, after clicking on the Way to Jungle button and looking at the tutorial, you get treated to this atrocious page of what I'm assuming is supposed to be the game's plot, but it's just a bunch of screenshots from the movie with speech bubbles and narration added to make it sort of look like a comic page, except bad. I'm assuming this is supposed to be a reference to the fact that Motu Patlu originated as a comic in the Indian comic magazine Lotpot, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that those comics were actually, I don't know, competently made if the series got made into this popular of a TV show. This game turned out to just be shooting clones of the same hunter guy who's actually the villain of the movie, with a slingshot in order to distract him from killing all the animals. Except his hitbox is really bad and you have to click him in the chest specifically for the slingshot to work, otherwise the pellet will just sail right through his crotch and he'll end up killing something. I did clear the first of the 3 levels before giving up because it was tedious and rather unsurprisingly not fun, but anyway, let's move on to game number 6, Motu Patlu Ball and Wall. That title screen, there's another guy with a gun just kinda pointing it at you. Turns out this guy is also actually a character from the show called John the Don, who wants to be a Don and apparently likes threatening people with guns in this kids show, may I remind you. Clicking on the info button for some reason made the music double over on itself, but a split second behind, so I kept hearing every note twice. But thankfully this is just a breakout clone with the same bad mouse controls as the snowboarding game, so I stopped playing after about a minute. Game 7, Flying Motu, a Flappy Bird clone that actually controls okay, except the gaps you're supposed to fit through are basically the same size as the sprite, so I was only able to get myself through one of them before dying. It did the whole reload thing when trying to restart the game, so moving on. Game 8, Motu Patlu Selling Samosas, a generic cashier game that doesn't even actually have a Motu Patlu skin. All you gotta do is make the right change, and you get points. The only thing I saw that actually sets this apart from any of the 8 billion versions of this game that I've seen before are sometimes you'll be asked to have 0 change, and sometimes the person won't pay at all, so you can get points just by clicking the enter button without doing anything, which is kind of weird. Game 9, Motu Patlu to the Rescue. Another game using the same background music as the Breakout clone and the Selling Samosas. This one's another shitty platformer using the exact same janky animations as last time, except... Ow! My god! The sound effect for collecting an item is actually really loud compared to the music in this game for some reason. I would be surprised that this got through some sort of playtesting, but I don't think even the person who programmed these things playtested them. I honestly think this game's even worse than the first platformer. First of all, that right arrow sign is actually in the foreground, so you have to jump over it like a platform instead of, you know, it being in the background like it would be in any other normal competently done game. And secondly, the original block Do Not Steal doesn't even do anything other than play the annoyingly loud sound effect when you hit it. So, yeah, that's 2 cardinal rules of 2D platforming broken in the first level, so I'm getting out of this one as quickly as I can. Game 10 is in the first of what I like to call the Cricket Trilogy. 3 of these games are about cricket for some reason, and actually if you go back to the Nick India homepage, another one of their tabs is about some sort of cricket academy thing, which, I don't know, I guess this is part of their initiative to make kids active and stuff by forcing them to play cricket or whatever, but let's jump into this game. Turns out this is the first one so far to use a different piece of music for the title screen in the game itself. Only problem is the title screen music is just one line being looped over and over again with a distinct gap in between loops, so you can really tell they don't know how to do audio there. Which is kind of a problem if you want to read the very important story that comes with this sports minigame about how you have to help Motu get ready to be selected for the inter-village cricket competition. Very, very important story we got there. Surprisingly enough, this is probably the best made game of these so far. The background music they chose fits, the sound effects actually fit, the character animations look animated for once, and while the game is really simple, all you do is press the arrow key corresponding to the reticle that says where the ball is going to land and hit it. It controls properly too! Believe it or not, the quality of this one actually matches up with the Flash games on Nick and Cartoon Network's websites that I'd always play as a kid. It only took us most of the way through the first page, but we finally found a game that works properly. Game 11, and the second in the Cricket Trilogy, is Bowling Champ. All this is pretty much a role reversal of the last game, so instead of playing Motu batting, you're playing as Patlu bowling. And the animations and controls are bad again. What a surprise! You're supposed to score points by choosing one of the 3 pitches and then timing your release of the ball so that it goes in the correct direction, but unsurprisingly, it's completely random whether or not Motu will hit it, and you'll get your points. So we're moving on. The last game on the third line, and the last in the illustrious Cricket Trilogy, is Nick Cricket Academy. Although this one's apparently a misnomer because the story page says that this game's actually called Nick Cricket Academy Samosa Break! Space exclamation point. I am actually kind of glad I checked the story page for this one though, because I wouldn't have known that the objective for this one is to do all the best and win maximum samosa apostrophe S! Space exclamation point. In all honesty, I do know that the show is broadcast in Hindi, so I'm kind of surprised it did take this many games to get one that was poorly translated into English. Good on you, localization. Anyway, the game itself is just a clunky multiple choice quiz about cricket, so I'm going to move on to game 13 really quick because I don't know anything about cricket and don't like making a fool out of myself on the internet more than I already am. And that game 13 is Motu Wants Samosas, or just Motu Wants Samosa if you're only going by the title screen. This one is just using the same bad mouse controls from before to move Motu back and forth and catch falling samosas. And again, the same background music that's been used in, what, 3 other games now? I understand not all the King of Kings games use the same song in the background because, well, they're in a series and they're all from the same movie. But why do they keep using this? Wait a minute. Think of the ways they could save money. This has to be the instrumental of the theme song, right? Yep. That's how you skimp by not making more music, folks. Game 14, Hot Shots. Really bad basketball game. All you do is use the same bad mouse controls from like half the games now to try to shoot in a moving basket. Unsurprisingly, the shooting doesn't work, the aiming doesn't work, there's little to no hit detection in the actual basket, and the commentators are so rude and will insult you if you keep doing badly, and since the game doesn't work, you do badly most of the time. I think we have to move on before my feelings get any more hurt. Game 15, Dino Drop, a generic match 3 puzzler where all the generic jewels are replaced with a bunch of generic dinosaur eggs. Admittedly, this was the game I spent the most time on outside of recording just because, well, it's really hard to mess up one of these kinds of games, so believe it or not, I was finally able to enjoy myself playing one of these for once. At last we arrive at Game 16, where they completely drop all pretenses of this actually being a kids show. Kill the zombies! Kill the fucking zombies! We had slashing your throat Hunter Man. We had horrifying hospital imagery. We had other guy with a pistol. And now we just have a game straight up called Kill the Zombies. You know, for the kids. Okay, my bad, I admit. I jumped to conclusions too quickly and made a mistake. Turns out that the subtitle of this game is There's a Cure for Zombies. Yes, you do shoot them in the game, but you're shooting them with a healing gun that turns them back into human. Kill the zombies doesn't mean you're actually killing things, it means you're killing off the zombie disease and turning them back into human. See, that's nice and wholesome. It's a good message. Healing things. No evil lasts forever. The dawn shall come after the darkness. This is okay. This totally justifies naming your game Kill the Zombies! This one's another platformer and uses the same awful art style from the last two that makes Patlu look like Arthur for whatever reason. But out of all the games, it's probably the most complex and handles those complexities pretty well. You're on a stage with a bunch of bone platforms, and there's a locked door that lets you get out. You have to find a key to unlock the door, but along the way, you can also find the healing gun and health pickups. You actually get rated at the end of a stage 1 to 3 stars based on whether or not you found the gun, found all the health pickups, and cured all the zombies with the gun, as well as having a counter for however many bullets you fired that didn't hit a zombie. There's actually clear planning and good game design ideas that went into this one. I'm pretty impressed. It even controls better than the other two platformers too. The only real gripe I have with them is the fact that holding the up arrow key will make you spring back up every time you land on the ground, which makes the whole platforming part trivial, but believe it or not, this is a functionally good game, and again reminds me of the ones that I'd used to play as a kid. I was thinking that this would be a nice high point to end the video off on, but then I intentionally died just to see what happened, and oh my god! Half of your health heart turns green. Patlu turns into a zombie, says, "I need to kill myself, presumably to stop the plague from spreading. You can't jump enough to pick up the gun, and you have to throw yourself off a cliff enough times to kill yourself again and get a game over." That's horrifying. I know I was making jokes before, but, like, that is definitely not for the children. Who thought this was a good idea to put in a game? Who could have done this? What other horrible things have they done? I think we need to move on to the second page of the website and see what other atrocities are being committed in the other games. Oh, wait, the next button is broken? Really? The HTML on the site was bad before, but the next button doesn't work. There are multiple pages of games that you can't access because someone doesn't know how to program a next button. Well, being the elite hacksaw man that I am, I dug into the source code of the page, and yeah, there are links to other games in there, you just couldn't access them because the next button's broken. I decided to end this off by clicking on a game at random, came up with Motu Patlu Multiplier, so let's see what this one's about. It's 2048, with a Motu Patlu skin. Also, the border for the game page is Shaun the Sheep, who I'm pretty sure was broadcast on Disney in the US, so I don't know what to believe anymore. At this point, I've come to realize I should have just taken the memes and run. If I'd done that, I would have just thought of Motu Patlu as that harmless kids show that Nick doesn't really know how to promote, so they decided to do it with bad memes and dabbing. But now I know the truth. And unfortunately, after watching this video, you do too. Motu Patlu is a pretty messed up show. It deals with zombie apocalypses causing main characters to commit suicide in order to save the lives of others. It involves backstories of horrible parental trauma causing 2 middle-aged men to become eligible to be Ava pilots. It is nothing short of terrifying. I'm sure younger me would have been scarred by this stuff, so I feel bad with the kids who had to watch 262 episodes of this. I don't really know what to say. I think I have to end the video now, before I doom myself to a life of sleepless nights, where all I can do is stare at the ceiling and see Motu and Patlu staring back at me. If you managed to make it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. If this does as well as I hope it does, well, you're probably not subscribed to me, so I think you should do that. Unfortunately, I don't really have the time and resources to make videos like this particularly often, but I do upload Let's Plays every Tuesday and Friday, and since I'm a competitive Splatoon 2 player, I have a guide or other sort of Splatoon video coming out every Sunday. If you only like this kind of content out of me, then don't worry. Every now and then, when I have the time to make something like this, I'll upload those on Wednesdays. I've also got links to my Twitter and Twitch in the description, so if you really like me, you can follow me there too. But, for real this time, this is LUXIN, signing off.